Let's cross over to Westminster now and get some reaction from the Labour MP Chuka Umunna, who is a leading supporter of Open Britain. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Well, Boris Johnson had a pretty clear message to people like yourself. He said your fears about what's going to happen to the economy are unfounded. He said the concerns that Britain might become insular are quite wrong. We're going to be internationalist. And indeed that Britain can thrive and have a great future once it's freed from EU laws. Were you at all reassured?
No, not at all, is the short answer. We're already a great country, we're already internationalist, and we're already global. But this was a big exercise in hypocrisy, frankly, from the Foreign Secretary. First of all, he made an argument about taking back control, of course, to Parliament on behalf of the people. But every step of the way during these Brexit negotiations, he and his government have sought to withhold information from Parliament and the people on the impact of Brexit. Secondly, he was lecturing people about the perils of betrayal when he was the person who campaigned on the basis that if you voted to leave the European Union, £350 million extra per week would go to the NHS. That's what he was going around saying in 2016. He voted against that money going to the NHS in 2017, and he is now part of a cabinet that is presiding over the biggest crisis the NHS has seen in a generation. And finally, he warned about the perils of sowing the seeds of fear. And he co-led a campaign which, for example, sought to scaremonger about Turkey joining the European Union, and suggested that Vote Leave campaign that he co-led suggested that that will pose a security threat to our country. So I don't think this is reassuring at all, Carol.
He said that he recognised that there are people out there who are worried, feel grief and alienation, but he said that anyone trying to stop Brexit, that would be disastrous and that there would be feelings of betrayal all over the land. Do you accept that?
Well, Boris Johnson is the one who's committed the biggest betrayal by turning his back on his commitment to secure billions of pounds worth of funding for the NHS. But let's just be straight about this. You cannot thwart the will of the people if they are the ones who get a vote on the final Brexit deal, because they started this process. So in my view, they are the ones who should finish it. It shouldn't be determined by Boris Johnson and a ministerial elite in Whitehall. But there are two other very big points that he completely ignored, both during the speech and in the Q&A after. He did not address the issue of the challenge that what he is proposing, leaving the customs union, poses for the Good Friday Agreement settlement in Northern Ireland. There is no way of avoiding a hard border in Ireland without us staying in the customs union, and he's prepared to sacrifice that settlement, which of course brought peace to Northern Ireland after decades of bloodshed. He's prepared to sacrifice the settlement there for his ideology. We heard nothing about that. He also promised, the Vote Leave campaign promised, that as soon as we had voted to leave the European Union, immediately we would be negotiating new trade agreements with other countries around the world. Now, we already benefit from over 60 different trade agreements with non-EU countries through the European Union. Okay. Not one new agreement has been negotiated with a non-EU country when we were told government would immediately start negotiating them. And we've only got a year to go to we're scheduled to leave, and trade agreements take years, not a year, but years to negotiate. We heard absolutely nothing from him on either of those two very important points.
OK, Chuka Umunna, many thanks for talking to us from Westminster with the latest reaction to Boris Johnson's speech.